From certain scenes that were simply too intense to handle for a Cannes crowd, to perhaps the most bizarre beatdown in the entire history of movie making. Yes, I said it. The world may never recover from some of the latest attempts to leave filmgoers needing a bit of a lie down. And oh yeah, spoilers ahead. I'm Gareth from Whatculture.com, and here are movie scenes that shocked the world. Black Bolt and Professor Xavier's gross endings. Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. Sam Raimi's recent attempt to lure Marvel Studios into more unsettling waters didn't entirely deliver the horror goods promised of a director famed for the likes of the Evil Dead series. However, two shocking beats that will most definitely occupy more than a few youngsters' nightmares in the coming months undoubtedly rank as some of the grisliest occurrences in MCU history to date. As the newly introduced Illuminati square off against Elizabeth Olsen's chilling Scarlet Witch partway through the flick, the seemingly unstoppable Black Bolt, brought to life by a returning Anson Mount, soon finds himself with an unexpectedly sealed gob. Sure enough, upon trying to let rip his trademark hypersonic voice, the Inhuman's head insanely erupts as he crumbles to the floor in a heap. Not to be outdone, Patrick Stewart's returning Charles Xavier also meets his brutal end. Only this time by having his damn skull literally ripped in half during his desperate attempts to reach out to Wanda Maximoff in her own mind. Simply put, Multiverse of Madness wasn't a horror home run by any means, but these two gory fatalities will definitely live long in the memory. Johnny Knoxville's Bull Ride, Jackass Forever. A few things are always to be expected when sitting down to study the latest installment of Jackassery. Crap literally hitting the fan or ceiling is almost a certainty, and Johnny Knoxville would do his damnedest to thoroughly piss off a fully grown bull. Yet even with those expectations coming into Jackass Forever, few were honestly prepared for the sheer severity of that last Jackass mainstay's most recent iteration. Coming during a bit Knoxville branded as the magic trick, the fearless stunt machine ate one of the gnarliest hits ever beamed into a cinema theater on the back of flailing around like a madman in a bullpen, all whilst decked out in a magician getup no less. Things took an even more unnerving turn when it quickly became apparent that Johnny had been emphatically knocked out by said bull, and needing months to fully recover. So don't expect to see this jackass get back on the bull anytime soon. Probably. Conrad's fatal blunder, the King's Man. Leaving an audience rubbing their eyes in disbelief at the death of a feature player isn't exactly anything new for Matthew Vaughn's Kingsman series. Yet where Harry Galahad Hart was lucky enough to eventually live to fight another day in the Golden Circle, it doesn't look like Conrad Oxford will be afforded that same luxury after his chilling conclusion in prequel The King's Man. Upon triumphantly surviving the perilous no man's land during his mission to retrieve vital information from a wounded British agent, things take an unexpected and deeply disturbing turn for Conrad, with his fellow troops mistaking him for a German spy on the back of a soldier figuring out that Conrad wasn't actually the Archie Reed he claimed to be, with Oxford secretly swapping places with the Scot to evade his father's attempts to keep him from the war. The plucky youngster is swiftly shot straight through the skull in a panic, thoroughly matching the unexpected horror of the aforementioned Harry bullet through the head before it, or after it in the overall timeline. Vaughn managed to recapture twisty lightning in a bottle with this savage end. Aunt May bites the dust, Spider-Man No Way Home. While it would be easy to point to the worst kept secret in Marvel's Cinematic Universe history as the most stunning occurrence contained within the biggest movie of recent times, another moment arguably left folks reeling more than the Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire web-filled comebacks, with everyone from MJ to Happy Hogan being teased as heartbreaking casualties of the incoming multiversal war heading Peter Parker's way in the marketing material. Few were ready for the sight of Marissa Tomei's Aunt May biting the dust amidst the rubble during the film's emotional climax. And with May seemingly brushing off the vicious attack from a devious returning Willem Dafoe's Green Goblin, the reveal of her injuries being worse than originally assumed felt like a sucker punch of sorts when all was said and done. Mixing a devastating performance by Tom Holland's Parker as he comes to terms with May's final moments post great power, great responsibility utterance, and you've easily got one of the most devastating beats in recent movie history. Olga's unexpected defense mechanism, the Northman. Robert Eggers seemingly made it his mission to shock and beat his audience into a slack-jawed mess over the course of the Northman's 137 minutes of madness. Yet even though Alexander Skarsgård's Prince Amleth understandably grabbed most of the headlines with his routine feats of savagery throughout the flick, it was Anya Taylor-Joy's Olga of the Birch Forest who provided audiences with easily the most startling beat the flick had to offer, with the director frequently alluding to the sickening threat of being ever present in these barbaric Viking times, Eggers deployed an unexpected tactic in one particular scene to avoid the actual visual of Olga being taken against her will. Lifting up her dress, Olga would then proceed to smear the despicable dude attempting to take her's face with her rag to hammer home the point some more. As it goes, said exchange was actually Taylor-Joy's idea, with Eggers only all too happy to oblige, as he'd later note the brilliantly shocking beat was great. Brendan Butcher's Fresh. If 2022 will go down as a year simply overflowing with stunning twist and unexpected turn of events, then Sebastian Stan and Daisy Edgar Jones starring Fresh likely sits atop the class in terms of shock value alone. Kicking things off with an almighty bang, not long after deciding to go for a romantic trip away together, Steve and Noah's relationship takes a rather unanticipated turn, as the former is revealed to actually be a human meat harvester who was actually eyeing the latter up for his clients. Go figure. And it's not long after Noah is shockingly drugged and held captive that those watching on are exposed to the freakish sight of the actually known as Brendan, preparing a human leg for eventual dinner. The grisly sight of a person's limb being handled is one thing, but Brendan's casual dancing and joyful kitchen antics only succeed in taking the perversity of the entire situation up a few uncomfortable notches. Meryl Streep getting munched late in the day. Don't look up. It's fair to say more than a few folks were reduced to a sudden bout of explosive laughter late in the day, as Netflix's Don't Look Up provided fans with an early holiday gift to unwrap. As the film's world-ending credits rolled into view, it wasn't long before one of the nuttiest mid-credit stingers in recent times resulted in the insane fulfilling of an algorithmic prediction, with the likes of Meryl Streep's president Janie Orlean and Mark Rylance's Bash CEO Peter Urshewell waking up from their 22,740-year slumber to discover their escaped spaceship has found a habitable planet. The increase in oxygen levels seems to suggest a happy ending of sorts. Well, for everyone but the president, that is. Upon spotting a beautiful creature in the distance, Streep's character is quickly eaten alive by what Urshewell soon claims to be a Bronterock, the very same entity he claimed would cause her end earlier in the movie. A few gory moments are too much for Cannes. Crimes of the future. Folks opting to vacate a Cannes screening out of sheer disgust for the events they're witnessing unfold before them isn't exactly anything new when it comes to the iconic film festival. And one David Cronenberg is certainly no stranger to this occurrence either, with his 1996 Crash feature inspiring many a boo and walkout upon its appearance at the event. And his most recent effort by the name of Crimes of the Future was at it again, when it came to inspiring the strange audience, as the polarizing director put it, to bolt up out of their seats and head for the exits on the back of a number of rather intense scenes. A one-time real-life couple gets steamy, deep water, hooking up and ultimately going their separate ways over the course of shooting and eventually promoting their incoming steamy thriller by the name of Deep Water. More than a few movie fans were curious to see how a former couple's on-screen chemistry would play out over the course of the Hulu and Prime Video release. However, arguably the movie's most shocking moment doesn't actually involve Ana de Armas and Ben Affleck getting heaty at all, though the pair are still responsible for a rather jarring, in more ways than one, instance of vehicular foreplay. Instead, it's another car scene that takes the cake as the most jaw-dropping of the lot, with Fatal Attraction director Adrian Lynn depicting de Armas' Melinda Van Allen herself and her driver lover in a sequence that would likely be more at home in a softcore flick than a lackluster psychological thriller. The showdown, everything everywhere all at once. If you haven't already witnessed the all-out bizarre brilliance that comes to pass in the Daniels' outstanding Everything Everywhere All at Once, you've likely been exposed to a number of its mind-bending multiversal happenings via many a memorable meme. But in a film that boasts everything from hot dog-handed lovers to the most moving rock-infused moments ever captured on a camera, sorry Dwayne Johnson, it's still safe to say that the undisputed champ when it comes to on-screen chaos is found in a certain showdown involving some accurately placed sexual apparatus. Combining innovative and compelling martial arts action with the sheer absurdity of the scenario in general, Michelle Yeoh's Evelyn is forced to fight off a enhanced henchman of sorts, as said item stays firmly lodged in his rear throughout. And the peril is then hilariously doubled, as another sporting fighter is added to the multiversal mix, leaving you with no choice but to laugh, wince, and stare in complete awe at the impressive feats of combat as the leading light ultimately brings an end to the bizarreness by yanking out both items in the mother of all epic slow-mo climaxes. No, not that kind. All in all, shocking doesn't even begin to cover it, to be honest.